The oceans have a major role to play in how the earth functions. Without them, life, as we know, would not exist. Life itself arose from the oceans. The ocean, with its enormity and mystery, has eternally been a part of the human consciousness. Coastal environment plays a vital role in a nation's economy by virtue of the resources, productive habitats and rich biodiversity. India has a coastline of about 7,500 kilometers. The coastal zone is also endowed with a very wide range of coastal ecosystems like mangroves, coral reefs, sea grasses, salt marshes, sand dunes, estuaries and lagoons. The Indian coastal region has a privileged combination of valuable natural resources and a unique landscape. That is why living on the coastal area and utilizing these natural resources are as old as the origin of civilization. The oceans that have influenced life and shaped the history of man are changing. Climate change is one of the most critical global challenges of our times. Climate change in the coastal zones is likely to be manifested through the worsening of climate-related problems like erosion, flooding, subsidence and deterioration of coastal ecosystems. The key climate-related risks in the coastal zone includes tropical cyclone, erratic precipitation, and changes in temperature and sea level rise.
This sea level rise is essentially happens because of three main reasons. The one which is very important is the global warming or the warming of the sea, which allows the water to expand, and that is the one reason why the sea level will rise. The second, which is a very important reason, is the ice or glaciers on land like Antarctica or Greenland or on Himalayas. When they melt, that water adds to the sea. But there is equally important third reason is due to the change in the ocean basin. So, the change in the ocean basin volume itself can also lead to the sea level rise. So, when we are trying to find out why the sea level has occurred, it could be combination of all the three reasons or could be one of the reasons.
Sea levels in general are rising globally by about 3 mm a year. However, it is projected that the sea may rise by as much as 5 mm. This is primarily due to the rising temperatures as a result of climate change. Rising sea levels threaten communities and ecosystems on coastal areas. Geographically, the Americans have until now been seen as less vulnerable than other parts of the world like low-lying Pacific islands. But parts of the Caribbean, Mexico and Ecuador are seen as the most at risk. New York City and southern parts of Florida are also considered to be particularly vulnerable. As temperatures rise, seas will absorb more heat from the atmosphere, causing them to expand and rise. As ice sheets, such as those in Greenland and on Antarctica, and land glaciers melt, the level of the seas rise. As the ocean basin changes due to tectonic shifts, as anthropogenic activities cause coastal erosion. Sea level rise can be a combination of all these different reasons or could be just one of these reasons. It is also dependent on the kind of ecosystem a coastal area has and how each component of that ecosystem copes and responds to the rising sea. Impacts of sea level rise. contributes to the coastal erosion and inundation of low-lying coastal regions, damages coastal infrastructure and property, loss of livelihoods of the coastal communities, displacement of coastal communities, leads to saltwater intrusion into aquifers, deltas and estuaries, loss of coastal biodiversity like mangroves and coral reefs, damage and destruction of marshes and mudflats. The coastal zone is an important and critical region for India. Sea level rise will affect many regions, with the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Lakshadweep Island in the southwestern part, the low-lying deltic region in West Bengal and the Kutch region in Gujarat are likely to be the most vulnerable area. The coastal region of Gujarat has a very high tendency of erosion along with shoreline changes. Out of the total 1600 km of long coastline of the state, total 732.80 km of the area is classified as erosion-prone area. Out of the total erosion-prone area, 5.3% area is classified as high erosion area. Some villages in Valsad, Navsari and Kutch areas fall under high erosion category. 10.6% area is classified as medium erosion area. Some villages in Bhavnagar, Jamnagar districts come under medium erosion category. 29.9% area is classified as low erosion area. Some villages of Ahmedabad, Jamnagar, Junagadh fall under low erosion category.
The Intercoast Zonal Management, which is a program financed by the World Bank, and out of the 3 states, which we are the first state which has been able to implement the program, we have decided to implement this program in such a manner that we will be able to clean up the shores, keep the purity of the sea water from the aquatic point of view, and also we want to protect the coastal zones through the ecological barriers, which probably have to be densified or they have to be made more strong and wide based.
Minister of Environment and Forests, Mr. Ramesh said, "Our concern is really with eroding area. No project will be allowed in the high erosion stretch, which will be declared as no-go zones. In the medium erosion and low erosion stretch, projects will be allowed only after a comprehensive impact assessment and accumulative impact assessment." Coastal areas of Gujarat have become the focal point of development. Much of the state's development, led by industrialization, is centered on the coast. But the recent debate over the imminent threat of sea level rise, changing the topography as early as in the next 50 years, poses great challenges for the administration. Some coastal villages and communities of Gujarat have started bearing the brunt of this phenomenon. Several have already vacated the villages due to advancing seawater every year. They are feeling a sense of apprehension and dread about their future.
તો 1957-58 પછીથી દરિયો વધતો જ ગયો. ધીમે ધીમે રહીને આવ્યો આ દરિયો.
આ દરિયા કિનારો અહીંયાથી 2 કિલોમીટર કે 3 કિલોમીટર આગળ હતો. આજે આટલો ધોવાણ થશે, આખો દરિયાનું પાણી ગામે આવતું છે ને વરસાદમાં આ ગામની પરિસ્થિતિ ક્યારે આખું ગામ ડૂબી જાય ને કોઈને ખબર નથી. અમે દરિયા કિનારે ચાલતા જતા ને થાકી જતા હતા, આટલી રેતી લાગતી હતી ગરમ, પણ આજે કંઈ નહીં, ઉતર્યા એટલે ઘરથી અમે ને જ્યારે વરસાદ આવે ને ત્યારે આ દરિયાના મોજા છે ને આ દિવાલ પર માણસે ઘરના દિવાલ પર ને બધું પ્રાઇમરી સ્કૂલ ને બધા પર જતું છે અને આખા ગામમાં પાણી ઘૂસી જતું છે.
આજે કેટલું કાંઠું ઢોવાઈ ગયું કે લગભગ ઓછું લગભગ અડધું કાંઠું જેટલું ઢોવાઈ ગયું હોય.
અમે જ્યારે નાના હતા ત્યારે દરિયો ઘણો દૂર હતો અને તે પછી વર્ષો જતાં દરિયાના મોજાઓ ઉછળતા હતા અને તેના લીધે દરિયાએ ધોવાણ થવા લાગ્યું અને ધોવાણમાં અહીંયા અત્યારે જે અમારી છાપડી હતી એ છાપડી પૂરેપૂરી નાશ થઈ ગઈ.
The government, to support the communities, has constructed sea protection walls near some of the most vulnerable coastal villages. These communities, however, feel an urgent need for action to identify ways and means to reduce the impact of sea level rise on their daily lives.
આ દિવાલ બનાવી એટલે અમારું ઉડતીમાં એમ કે ઉડતી છે કે ભરતી છે અમને કંઈ સમજ નથી પડતી. કેવી રીતે પાણી આવે ને કેવી રીતે જાય એ સમજ નથી પડતી એટલે શાંતિ છે અમને.
Even as investment worth millions has already been pledged at various strategic points across the coast, the Gujarat Ecology Commission, GEC, is sincerely trying to understand the specific impacts of sea level rise that can have in these areas. Gujarat Ecology Commission, an apex organization working under Forest and Environment Department, Government of Gujarat, has initiated a number of measures to mitigate the ill effects of sea level rise phenomena. These include large-scale mangrove plantation activity along the Gulf of Khambat and Gulf of Kutch, with active involvement of the local communities. Building capacity of the community members through trainings in managing the coastal natural resources in a better way. Through awareness generation programs along the coastal stretches for natural resource conservation. Development of protocol for coral transplantation activity, which later can be scaled up to desired level. All these measures are taken up by the GEC under an ambitious integrated coastal zone management project funded by the World Bank through Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India. The Government of India, on the other hand, is planning an extensive exercise to map a hazard line along the country's coastline from Gujarat to West Bengal. The hazard line is a composite line of the shoreline changes, including sea level rise due to climate change, tides and waves. The Institute for Ocean Management, Anna University, Chennai, has been actively working on the rising impact of sea level and has carried out the assessment of shoreline changes around Gujarat. With immense research and development, the institute keeps an eye over the effects of sea level rise on coastal, land and marine ecosystem. Studies show that the rate of rising sea level on the northern Indian Ocean, especially around India, is faster than as compared to the global average. Up to 2003, the rise on Indian Ocean and global average was similar, around 1.2 millimeter per year. But after 2004, it has been found that the North Indian rising is much faster than the global average. Sea level, however, does not rise noticeably overnight, not in months, not even in years. The rise may assume dangerous proportions only over a substantial period of time.